This is the World Satsanga on the 17th of January 2015. So first of all, it's a delight to speak to you all again, and Happy New Year to you all. Another New Year rolls by, and it's good to see you all there. I'm very cognizant that one or two others may sort of sneak in at midpoint or at some point during midstream. That's okay, I can pull them in, there's no problem there. So Happy New Year to Marnie, Happy New Year to Lily, Happy New Year to Adriana, Happy New Year to Ulla, Happy New Year to Bill. And Bill's an old level 2 student of mine, but he's new to this, so hopefully we can ask him in a moment to just give us a little bit of history about himself. And Happy New Year to Joe, Happy New Year to Mo, and Happy New Year to Jeremy, Happy New Year to John, and Happy New Year to Gwyneth. And Gwyneth is one of my old level 3 students. He's also looking to help me in my travelling as well. So hopefully we can get Gwyneth to just do a little bit of talk about her own spiritual stuff, which is fantastic. Okay, excellent. The system is settling down. Yes. No. Jane has in the past very rarely participated, and she's had some health problems, so she's had to bail out basically and focus on her health, which is fine. We have, what's the word for it? We'll have our time and place, and that includes me as well. So basically, I'm going to take this opportunity actually to thank Jane for all the work she's done the past 2.5 years, and she's still tidying some things up because she has done a fantastic job, and it's been an interesting time being with her, doing what she's doing with me, for the expansion of what we're doing. So I thank her. Yeah, I think you should be. Yeah. Okay. Right then, so here we go. Let's go and look at the agenda here. Now, I have quite a lot of questions actually, but before we do go with the questions, what I'd like to do is just ask Bill to just explain very, very quickly in a summarised way how he started his spiritual journey to where he is right now, and I'll ask the same to Gwyneth as well, if that's okay. So, Bill, if you can just give the group a quick explanation of your spiritual journey, and then we'll move on to Gwyneth. You may have to put your microphone off mute. Okay. Looks like Bill's a bit shy there. Do you want to continue in Bill's stead then, Gwyneth, if you can do? I think Gwyneth's also shy. Never mind. Anyway, Bill and Gwyneth are here. They're the first time for. Oh, yeah. Is that Gwyneth? Yeah, just about. You're a little bit quiet, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I think people can hear you okay. I mean, I can hear you okay, so it should be okay. Okay, carry on. Yeah, I think Joe's got his microphone on still. If you can put it on mute, please, Joe, it'd be great. Yep, carry on, keep going.
Okay, thanks, Gwyneth. I just noticed, by the way, that using the system I'm using right now with this microphone, is actually not helping with the recording at all. So we'll just have to say that I'll repeat Gwyneth's work for the recording, actually. For the recording, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's okay. I can hear you okay. I've been on mute a moment. Just to let you know that the recording as such is actually it's very interesting. Where I do this recording isn't through Skype itself. I use a different device, and so it didn't actually record your side of the conversation, which is a bit of a little problem with the technology I've got right now. But never mind. I'm just going to repeat a little bit about what Gwyneth's just said, which is basically she's had a spiritual path that's lasted a long time. She's worked to become a Reiki master. She had previously was quite focused on her own material work, and she's done some work with ayahuasca as well. I missed some of the stuff towards the end, but in essence, Gwyneth's done a lot of work on herself over the last number of years, including working on doing level 3 with me, obviously doing level 1, level 2 first, and has got quite a significant amount of experience in terms of her own spiritual path and the spiritual path of others as well. So thank you for that, Gwyneth. That's fantastic. Are you there, Bill? No, I think he's probably online and just listening. Okay, that's not a problem. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do now is just go through the agenda for tonight, okay? And if I repeat things that people have said, don't worry, it's because of the recording. So I might have to try and work a way of just recording this in a different way next time, probably through Skype, actually. So we've gone through the greetings and stabilisation of the system. The next bit is how we integrate our, actually what are we? Let's just say that, it's going to get the next. It's all to do with how drugs affect us as an incarnate entity, specifically during the demise of the human form, as it were, and then we're going to go into these questions. Now, there's quite a lot of questions here, and Joe's put 2 questions forward, and the others put a number of questions actually based upon the sort of taster that I put on the website to do with the book I'm currently writing, which is called the Dialogues. So it's we can do as much as we can do with that. We may have to split some of this up to next time, but that's fine. Okay. So, and then we've got the end of meditation, which is an earth healing, which you haven't done for some time. So I'm quite eager to go through that, because I believe that we need to help the earth from a global perspective more than we have done in the past. So I'm quite eager to go through that. Okay. So I'm going to go through this relatively quickly. If anybody does have any questions, I will repeat it for the recording, because I'm not getting the opportunity to record your voices on the system at the moment. So I'll have to sort that out. But it's about the effect of drugs on the human body and the soul. And in effect, when we take drugs of any sort, the drugs, although they may affect a healing process with us or mask an ailment that we have, in essence, depending upon the strength of the drugs and the, shall I say, the disharmony of the drug's frequency with our human body, depends upon how it affects the soul. Now, clearly we have lots of big, shall I say, written reports, verbal reports, sort of say modern-day legendary reports about individuals who've had good or bad trips with certain narcotics, LSD, for instance, being quite popular in the 60s and 70s, and E's these days, and I think it's crystal meth, I think, is another popular one recently. So in essence, what happens is the drugs affect the physical form, not only at the physical level, but also at the energetic level as well. And so what happens is we, from a soul perspective, we start to become in disharmony with it. And so the soul can't stay within the energies associated with the physical body. nor the spiritual physical bodies, which are those ones above the third frequency. So gross physical being the frequencies 1, 2, and 3, spiritual physical being frequencies 4, 5, 6, and 7, and those other frequencies, the upper three frequencies that are sort of relatively new news to us, which are there to act as a step down filter, sort of energetically, to allow our true energetic self to project part of itself, an aspect of itself, into the human vehicle, to allow it to experience the lowest frequencies of the physical universe through incarnation. so that's there. So when we take drugs of strength, and I'm going to talk about the narcotics as a particular example, or drugs that are taken in bulk, for instance, sleeping pills, paracetamol, aspirin, those sorts of things. The energies associated with it are so disharmonious that the soul can't stay in the body. And what happens is the auric layers split open, and so the soul moves out. And what happens whilst this happens is that the body is then available to any entity or disincarnate human being who hasn't accepted the fact that they are disincarnate and are needing to go through the process of reintegration with their true energetic self, which is sometimes called the Godhead, or the higher self, or the other soul. And they take the opportunity to come to re-experience incarnate existence again by literally temporarily occupying that body. And that's why we sometimes get with alcohol, because we get the same problem with alcohol. If we drink so much alcohol we pass out, what's called being paralytic. Again, the body is disharmonious to the point where the soul has to get out. And this is why sometimes we get people who change personality drastically when drunk, because in effect another entity has taken over the body temporarily. But fortunately for us, that entity can't stay in the body because it's not got the same energetic frequency, so it has to get out as the frequencies of the human body and the energies associated with it start to stabilise again. And when they stabilise to the point where we can come back into it, or our souls can go back into it, they then have to get out, as it were. Now, in terms of the drug scenario, we get this story about having a good trip or a bad trip. Now, a good trip is when ironically enough, there are that many drugs taken, or the quantity of drugs taken, or the strength of drugs taken is so great that this harmony is so high that the soul is actually thrown out to a higher level. So the aspect, the soul, is thrown out to a higher level. So that will be when they're thrown out to frequency levels like 6 and 7, which are the upper sort of astral, in sort of modern, sort of old speak, or upper astral. And so we start to see, in real terms, we start to see entities that are more benign, more loving, more gracious, more in line with what we are when we disincarnate. If, in essence, we're just thrown out of the human vehicle as a result of the taking drugs, and we don't go so high, so the volume of drugs or the strength of the drugs is not so big, so the soul is thrown out of the body, but not right out of the spiritual, physical, or the lower astral, so the high up to the higher astral levels. Then it becomes attracted to the lower astral levels. That's levels 4 and 5, and that in that instance, the disincarnate soul at that point in time, because it is disincarnate, it's still attached to the human vehicle because it's got to finish the incarnation off. But the soul itself, in a lucid way, is able to see and experience other things that exist on those lower astral levels, those levels that are 4 and 5. And those levels that are 4 and 5 sometimes, well, I say sometimes, do hold entities that are created by thought by ourselves in a negative way to sort of say bring ill feeling upon others, or it's just basically energy that has been around for a long time and gained its own intelligence. Now, when it's gained its own intelligence, it can't metabolize energy for a long time, and so it needs to take energy from a host, and this is where we sometimes get these entities attached to us. But these entities, they protect themselves by looking into our memories, their experiences of what we've been told, what we've experienced ourselves. And they try to scare us, they try to frighten us, so that we don't get involved with them, we don't interact with them. And so they start to give us an image of themselves which is particularly abhorrent. And this is when we start to see people with bad trips, as it were, saying they're seeing all these really horrible entities, things like dragons or mixtures of dragons and arachnoid figures, really quite scary sort of images. That's because the entities have taken those images from our mind and are protecting themselves by changing their shape and form to represent these things. And so the good trip is if somebody's taken enough drugs to be thrown right out of the human form up to the top of the spiritual and physical levels, level 6 and 7, and the bad trip if it's not so disharmonious to take us that far out, but it is enough to throw the soul out of the gross physical to the point where it's experienced in the lower astral levels, at levels 4 and 5. But interestingly enough, the effect of drugs doesn't specifically stop there. It's when we, for instance, are in a hospice, or we are in hospital and we're being given painkillers or other types of drugs, that also affects us as well. And so the level of interaction between somebody who is experiencing pain or any other form of physical dysfunction has been, shall we say, counteracted by drugs, is such that those individuals don't appear to be totally here. That's because they're not. It's because the soul is trying to get away from those disharmonious frequencies associated with the drugs. And if we get into a place where we're in a hospice, for instance, where somebody may have cancer or a brain tumour or any other form of terminal illness, where they're being given a sedative to calm them down because they're obviously in distress psychologically, and also they're being given things like serious painkillers to stop any pain they've got there. The painkillers themselves, the mixture of the painkillers and the sedatives, can actually stop the soul itself naturally decoupling itself from the energies associated with the physical form. And so what happens is, in the normal sense, when the physical body demises, it takes for the individual who is not spiritually adept, it can take around 3 days for the soul to disassociate itself from the energies associated with the human form it's been occupying for the last 10, 15, 20, 25, 50, 60, 90 years. But if it's been affected by drugs to reduce pain, or to sedate the individual, to stop them getting into a panic situation, to sedate them psychologically, the energies associated with that human form get pulled down even further, and so it's even more difficult for the soul to decouple itself, the aspect to decouple itself from the energies associated with the incarnate vehicle. And so it can take, I'm just being told, at least 6 days to decouple, sometimes even 9 days for the soul to decouple from the incarnate vehicle. So in essence, although we, from a physical perspective, believe that we're helping somebody transition in a better way by sedating them and by giving them morphine, for instance, actually what we're doing is we're slowing down their ability to decouple themselves from the incarnate vehicle and become back fully into the energetic. So this is really to do with, if you think about it, although we think we're giving somebody a break by helping them go in a calmer way and in a more sedate way, transitioning from their physical incarnation, in actuality what we're doing is we're not helping them at all. So it's a fine line there as to what we would choose for helping people out there. Do we help them out, or do we not help them out? And this is the issue. And this is the issue with stuff. Chris has just asked a question about the effects of taking things like marijuana and stuff. And although marijuana isn't so specifically as strong as things like LSD or crystal meth or EASE or any of the other drugs that are out there, we do get, shall we say, a partial decoupling from the physical vehicle, and therefore hallucinations, as they are called, or should we say more lucid moments in real terms, can also be experienced as well. But again, it's disharmonious for the soul, because the physical form is being poisoned, and so the soul has to try to get out. Now, with things like marijuana or other low-grade drugs, the soul can't totally get out. It's the same with alcohol. Sometimes people have more lucid moments having alcohol, more thought processes that are more in keeping with clairsentience than they would do if they were totally sober. And so it's the same sort of thing. It's sort of a limited level of decoupling that's achieved there, rather than a total decoupling. So the soul doesn't get totally ejected from the energies associated with the gross physical and spiritual physical and vehicle, but it does sort of say open the door slightly away from that. So let me just. Oh, I've got a particularly pesky cat who's trying to take attention. Okay. So, in essence, it's in all ways, shapes and forms, any form of drug isn't good for us. Not specifically from the physical perspective, but also from the energetic perspective and from the soul level. Okay, I think I've just got potentially a question just come through. I think, okay. No, I can't see one. Okay. So, if anybody's got any questions on this, I'm going to repeat it for the recording. If not, I want to go straight into probably going to go straight into others' questions first, as quickly as possible, because they are specifically related to some of the subject matter here. And then I'm going to backtrack and go into Joe's questions, because he's got 2 questions there. Yes, thank you, Mary. Yeah. So for the recording, Marnie's just asked is that any toxin would have an effect on the physical body, including food. The answer to that is, in terms of certain foods, yes. Specifically, if it does have some form of drug-based response. But any toxins that are there, anything that's associated with a synthesized or even a natural drug, if it's used incorrectly, would affect us. Yes, definitely. We are supposed to be self-contained and self-maintained. That means we can heal ourselves and continue our existence as long as possible. But what's happened is we've lost that ability to be self-contained and self-maintained, and so we start to rely on external activities of maintenance rather than doing it ourselves. So we've relied on a doctor or an apothecary or a wizened person to help us heal our physical form, rather than feel it ourselves, and that's a direct result of us moving down the frequencies in the past. But yeah, it does mean that, Marnie, basically, and actually we don't need to eat anywhere near what we do eat. We only need to eat enough. In fact, if we do start to train ourselves properly, we actually can take energy through the chakras, and the physical form would be maintained via energy to the chakras. and therefore the need for gross physical food would be negated. Chris has just said, can we tell the stem cells to heal us? Yes, of course we can, but there's got to be no doubt. We can tell our body to heal itself in any way, shape or form, and it will do it. The problem is, the moment we have a moment of doubt, the initiative has gone, the incentive has gone, the action has gone from the desire. Okay, so when we are healing somebody, or when we're being healed, we must be in total synchronicity of the fact. I'll say in the fact here, because that's what we need to be in, the administration of fact, that we are being healed by the energies of the healer, or the methods being used by the healer. Okay, thank you for that, Marley. It's good question. Okay. So what else we got there? Someone else asked a question. Thank you, Marley. Good. Right, I'm going to drop into these questions from Alexa, and they drop into this quite nicely. There we go. So, right, I'm going to read this out because the recording isn't specifically a lot picking up what the spoken voices. But what Ula said is, after reading a short excerpt from the AND dialogues, this is the short excerpt that's on the website, I was left wondering about a few things that I hope you can discuss in our upcoming Satsanga. These are a few questions I have. It says, what did Anne mean when she said help? Did she mean that to get more pain relief, or help for her energetic aspect to leave the physical form, or both? Her comment about brain pain being a real reminder of our discussion about more humane ways of treating humans and animals when they are going through the dying process. And she said, I still think it's more humane to euthanize an animal in distress, but I have to say, when that happened, it was quite distressful, and at the time I had to seek counsel from one of the nurses within the hospice. Since then, and in communication with Anne about this process, basically she wanted help, full stop. The word help was a single physical word that was all that the physical body could muster, and in effect what I got was later, when I managed to divorce myself from the initial impact of it, was that initial impact was, and I'll be honest with you, that I'd always been able to sort things out and get things and repair things and you know, get either of us out of any situation. The word help to me meant that she wanted to be helped out of this situation, and that therefore there was a level of significant stress on me as to how I would do that. But in essence, what happened is I've since found out that she wanted to either be cured instantaneously or to move out of the physical form as fast as possible. And what I achieved was to give her energy to move out as fast as possible. And in essence, what I found out later was that I'd given her that much energy, she almost reintegrated with her true energetic self instantaneously. So she was feeling pain. The level of ability to communicate was so limited that she could only use the word help, and from a human perspective it was difficult to decipher what was going on until you start to work on the energetic side, which is basically to understand the greater meaning behind the energy associated with that word, which was in effect either heal the physical form so I'm okay, or help to get me out of there. And in essence, I helped to get her out of there. The second one was her comments about sedatives lowering our frequency and the ability to make a conscious decision to leave the physical form was disturbing. It left me wondering about hospital end-of-life care. We just talked about this basically, which includes agents for pain, which is analgesics, acetaminophen or phenol, NSAIDs, which is ibuprofen, narcotics or opioid analgesics, morphine, Vicodin or Oxydone. If I'm saying these wrongs, please forgive me. Anxiety was anti-anxiety tranquilizers, benzodiazepine like Valium or Drillium, which is haloperidol. Depression, which is antidepressants such as amitriptyline or fluoxetine or dyspnea or difficulty in breathing, which is what morphine does in high doses. It stops breathing altogether. And basically, yes, all of those things do affect our ability to go. It lowers the frequency of the soul, and it attacks it, basically. It attacks it. It stops it from being higher frequency. Very quickly, Lely's added to this saying, do GMO foods or genetically modified foods affect our DNA? It depends upon how they're genetically modified. If their genetic modification increases their vibration, they're good for us. If their genetic modification decreases their vibration, they're bad for us. And how does chemtrail affect us? Most of what we see in the sky aren't chemical trails by aeroplanes. When we look at the sky and we see an airplane going by, and we see a white trail behind it, it's actually compressed air. It's actually localized compression of the air created by the aeroplane squashing the air and its way forwards, creating localized turbulence and therefore localized, shall I say, clouds. And so that's what we see. If chemicals were being administered to us by planes at the heights we see them, we would never see the chemicals come down. They'd be totally invisible to us because they would dissolve and disperse in such a way that we wouldn't see them, and B, we wouldn't even notice they were there. And actually, they probably at that sort of height, they probably wouldn't make any difference to us anyway. So in essence, it's there's a lot of, shall we say, misinformation about chemtrails on planes. It would need to be low enough, about the same height or just above the same height as a crop duster, to affect us. What we do get sometimes when planes dump fuel, as the miners have said, at low altitude, that's a problem because it is low altitude there, so that does affect us. Okay, right. Getting back onto those questions, which would be question number 3. It said, which of these agents could be lowering our frequency and making it harder for the soul to leave? This is critical for us to know before we or our loved ones come to the final exit point. Actually, that's a difficult thing difficult question to answer. That is because each of these drugs affects our physicality and our energies in a different way, depending upon who and what we are. So one particular drug may affect one of us more than another person. One of us might be specifically resistant to it anyway, or naturally resistant to it energetically and chemically. So it might not affect us. Whereas another drug that doesn't affect somebody else might totally damage us in the process. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. That is, it's difficult to understand which of those would cause a problem. And she's got here CNS depressants, alcohol, Prozac, Valium, CNS stimulants, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamines. She's crank, dissociative anesthetics, disassociate us from feeling pain. Yeah, okay. Those are the sort of things you have with Novocaine, for instance, in a dentist. Hallucinogenics, LSD, psilocybin or magic mushrooms, peyote, MDMA, ecstasy, ayahuasca, of course. Yeah, these are all these things are natural stuff. They all do the same thing. They're all a mechanical way of achieving, should we say, a greater level of connectivity. Okay, but it does it by throwing the soul out of the body. And inhalants, anesthetics, freezing surgery, paint thinners, etc. Yep, same thing. They all can react in different ways, and actually, as I said, just each of us will react different to the same drug and the same content of drug. So it's just depending upon what our level of natural resistance is, both energetically and physically in that respect. Let's have a quick look at these. And others just saying, should we be taking any prescription drugs for chronic conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, depression, etc. Every drug has its own side effects along with therapeutic effects. We sometimes find out that the side effects are greater than the therapeutic side of it. So the answer is, it depends upon whether you consider that the human form has its own natural lifetime, and whether you want to perpetuate that natural lifetime by administering a mechanical method of prolonging it, or whether you work in a more natural way using your own meditation, your own energies, your own connectivity with Source and the greater reality. And Marnie said this is a Western medical perspective of health. Health is, we gain our health by having pills for problems before it happens. Yeah, we get dependent on stuff, and actually there's potential. From a completely sideways view, you could argue that we are being kept under control by having drugs that we don't particularly need. And others said, should we take any anti-cancer drugs or radiation or immunology to extend the lifespan of the physical form, or choose not to? If it's our exit plan anyway. That's a good question. It's all down to the individual. I'm going to say here that choosing not to take anti-cancer drugs, choosing not to take radiation therapy or immunotherapy or immunosuppressant therapy is not euthanasia. It is choosing the natural way that your body has naturally decided to go. If, for whatever reason, there becomes a necessity to take these, and the route to take them becomes natural, then arguably taking them is part of your life plan. So you have to be very cognizant of what's going on around you. You know, if all of a sudden these things have become available to you, and they don't affect you too much from a detrimental perspective, then you know it's okay. If one of these drugs really hits you hard, then you might think to yourself, well, actually, perhaps I shouldn't be doing this. How do you tell? Meditation. Is there any way, really connect with yourself and your guide and your higher self as well. Okay, so we've talked about should we take any prescription drugs for chronic conditions. We've done that. Do we talk any anti-cancer drugs? We've talked about that. Yeah, it's basically a lot of these things are personal choice based upon where we think our life plan is, and how a necessity to stay incarnate is to enable us to continue to experience, learn and evolve. Clearly, it's personal choice. Although we can be, shall we say, coerced by certain medical professionals. Okay, could you make a meditation for us to allow us to keep bodies in a healed state? Yes, we can do that. Actually, if you want to, I can do that for the next Satsanga. So the question is here, could you make a meditation for us to allow us to keep our bodies in a healed state? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to add that to the next Satsanga. That's okay. Good. And Marnie's agreed as well. Vitamins and supplements. Really, we shouldn't be taking supplements, we should be taking natural foods. So Adrian has asked if we should be taking vitamins and supplements to help us. Again, we should be taking natural foods, like oranges, apples, bananas, pears, grapes, kiwi fruit, dragon fruit, tomatoes, melons. All the natural things we should be having. Yeah, lowest in the food chain. Yeah. So that's the way we should be going. Is taking natural foods. Actually, what's happening is because we're taking foods that are preserved and stored and made to look good, modified, then you find that the vitamins that are with them don't work so well. Moses said supplements are chemicals the body does not recognise. Generally, yes, unless it's particularly a type of supplement which is naturally forming through the ingestion of a particular fruit or food. And the other says, should we go cold turkey off all our prescription medicines and meditate on it? I would. I don't take any prescription medicines at all. I'm still here. I might have a slight cold once in a while, and I've got a runny nose now. But in essence, my positive thought about my own health keeps me healthy. And that includes repairing bodily injuries as well. So really we're being coerced into believing that we need to have a constant stream of medication to keep us alive. And actually we don't. We need a constant stream of meditation to keep us alive. Okay? Okay, so mine just said chemically modified and less nutritional. That's right, yes, that's the problem. Probably chemically modified or even GMO stuff. If it's done the right way, GMO is okay. But until we understand how to do GMO properly, maybe you want to ignore that type of food. Okay. Right. I'm going to now look up Joe's question. I'll answer these last two questions that are coming in from Ulla and Marnie. Quickly, Marnie's just said bacterial vibrations can be modified to increase your healthy state, which is another topic. Yes, there are bacteria within the human form, the gross physical form, which are useful to us. For instance, in the gut and around the bloodstream to eradicate certain diseases and illnesses. And others just said, how can we tell which GMO are high frequency? Of course, the skin as well, where the bacteria can come into us as well. The answer to that is, you intuitively know what's okay. We've all had your intuition about eating food, and then we had a little bit of food poisoning the next day, for instance, or we had to go to the toilet a lot because of the food being slightly off. So we need to sort of pay attention to ourselves and pay attention to our intuition as to what we should be taking, what we shouldn't be taking. If something feels right, it should be right. If something feels wrong, then it'll be wrong. And if you feel like a real deep down gut feeling that you shouldn't be eating some form of GMO food, then you shouldn't be. But really, in terms of what's out there GMO-wise, I would say that the jury is out in what is good or bad, because there is no understanding of what is creating a high-frequency food versus low-frequency food, certainly for the manufacturers of GMO foods. Okay. Right, I'm going to find this question from Joe now, because actually it's quite interesting that we answered that question in the Far East Satsanga that I do. And unfortunately I didn't record that, because I don't tend to record that particular one, but I'm going to as of now. Okay. Let's just have a quick look. Right, so let's got it. Right, so Joe's question is, on page 87 of the History of God, the origin comments on creating the 12 source entities. And so the intention was to give the others the same start in existence that I had myself. And Joe says, I've asked this question before and never gotten an answer that satisfies me. Probably because there isn't one that we humans understand. The question has to do with what preceded the origin. Right. The origin refers to its start, which implies that it wasn't always in existence. Something, or in brackets someone, question mark, gave the origin its start, and the origin is giving that same start to the source entities. So if the origin had a start, there was a time before the origin was started, or so it would seem. And he said, the related question is, where did this stuff originate that coalesced into the origin? So basically, in effect, very quickly the first bit, the intention was for the origin to give the source entities, but actually more like the 12 origins actually, the same started experience itself. That is, experience complete solitude, experience the awakening process that it was supposed to have in the way it did, by becoming aware and awake slowly through the energies coalescing and progressing through the simply being attracted energies to gaining low-grade intelligence, to increase that intelligence, to, shall we say, starting to sacrifice being a smaller version of energetic intelligence to give the energies a bigger level of singularized energetic intelligence, then go into self-awareness, then go into consciousness, then go into conscious self-awareness, then going into various levels of recognition of the ability to grow a bigger entity through sacrificing individuality to create a holistic single entity by grouping together and sharing that sentience together, and then creating sentience, and then having creativity, and then being able to disassociate that sentience from the energies that initially gave birth to it. And so that was the whole point with the 12 origins, was to give them the same start point that it had. All those different things happening in complete isolation with no knowledge of any other origin. And that was the same for the source entities as well. But clearly, when they became aware, the origin gave them a reason to be. It told them what they were, why they were created, why they became aware, and what their role was. And therefore they had a reason to be, which was a different thing that was given to the 12 origins. So the 12 origins weren't given a reason to be, and they were created and placed outside of its own sphere of polyomniscient sentient self-awareness, that area of itself that it totally understood and knew. Well, or should I say, to a certain level, it understood and knew. And it put it outside of that area into an area that it was aware of but didn't understand at all. And that's the next level of evolutionary process. When it gets there, it's going to try and expand itself into that area. And so those 12 origins had that level, whereas the source entities were placed into the environment of this polyomniscient sentient self-awareness, so they were within the origin. Now, getting to the question about what preceded the origin, in the Origin Speaks book, one of the things that came out pretty much towards the very end of it, which took me totally by surprise, was that there was another intelligence before the origin. It's all the same energy. It's all in the same area, the same absoluteness, the same everywhereness. There isn't a specific awareness to it. It's just that this vast tract of unfathomable, infinite energy is just there and started to gain its own levels of intelligence. But prior to that, or should I say, almost in synchronicity with that, there was another energy which is still in existence, that was becoming more intelligent than the energies that were becoming the origin at that point in time. Although it recognized that this other level of energies, level of sentience, level of intelligence, would supersede this other energy should the right condition be put in place. And what it was that event space itself had got a greater level of intelligence than it's got now. And it recognized, because it was intelligence to a point of recognition of self and self-awareness, that there was an opportunity for a much bigger, much more efficient, much better, much more sentient, much more omniscient, much more polyomniscient entity was going to become available should the right conditions exist. And that was a more fitting end, or more fitting use of the energies that were there. So what happened with the event space is it sacrificed itself. It basically trimmed off all the different event spaces, all those different parallel conditions that could have happened, solely to create the perfect conditions that allowed the origin to come into beingness. And in doing so, it sacrificed its own level of sentience, bringing it back down to just pure intelligence, rather than conscious self-awareness or sentience. And so it made sure that all those event spaces that needed to happen happened in the correct order, whether it was parallel, whether it was logical, whether it was linear, or in series, or in multidimensional conditions or multi-frequential conditions, happened in the correct way to allow the origin to come into beingness in the way it's coming into beingness right now. And so it sacrificed itself. So it had to stop itself from becoming fully sentient in the way it could have done, to allow this much bigger and better being to happen. And that's explained in the Origin Speaks, by the way. and that's what happened. Yeah, it's around April 2015. I'm told to get the galley print to review at the end of February, so it should be around April, May. But the book is quite. It gives a lot of information about the start of the origin, how the origin came about, and a lot of the structure of its current area of polyomniscient self-awareness, and so this thing about the event space actually assisting the creation of the origin and sacrificing itself for a greater good, which is the perfect service actually that event space could have been to the origin, which was for me totally and utterly surprising. It was, I'm going to use an English word for it, gobsmacking. It was completely out of the blue. I had no anticipation of it at all, and I remember reading it after I typed it up and just sat at the back of the chair and thought, wow, this is amazing. So hopefully that's how that answers your question, Joe, in a more complete way. Okay, let's have a look at. I apologise for my sniffling, by the way. I've got this cold is having a go at me, but I'm going to let it run its course because it needs to. Okay, now, interesting enough, we got the question from the Avoiding Karma book from Joe. So the Avoiding Karma grieving entry ends by telling us that it is wise to plan our next incarnation with the person we've lost. Is it wise or even possible to plan our next incarnation while still alive? Isn't the planning done whilst in spirit, where we have a much broader perspective? Yes, actually. Looking at these words now, I now realise that the actual explanation of this saying it is wise to plan our next incarnation to the person we've lost actually is more to do with being in different event spaces. When we think about these things, we think about these things in a linear perspective because that's how mankind exists. We do things linearly. We do things in clock time. And so both the planning of the next incarnation happens both whilst we're alive in the incarnate condition and while we're just incarnate planning this life. So it's all happening concurrently. And so the whole point of this is to stop the grieving process, basically. It's to make us understand that there is always continuity, that there is no start and end, there is just continuity. And so this is to literally tell us, and I think if I have an opportunity to revise this text, I will add some text to this to clarify it somewhat. It's wise to plan for some method of terminating the grieving process, because actually grieving can be construed as being karma, because we grieve for the loss, the loss of a loved one, which is a false loss basically, because they're never lost. It's just a physical vehicle which was being used, which is no longer present. The energies that they are is still there. It's just that they've changed their motor car, so to speak. And so, really, I think at some point I'm going to have to update that. Okay, but and actually in this instance, Ella's right. You said you came to Earth to experience grief. Yes. One of the things that I found out in my own meditations on the subject was that I've never actually ever experienced the grieving process. Never, ever experienced the grieving process in any incarnation, which I found somewhat a profound piece of information from meditation. And so that was the gift that Anne gave me, was the ability to experience this level of this level of human emotion. And so I ticked that particular box, so to speak. Doesn't make it any easier, by the way. The whole point of it is that you do experience it in the way that you're supposed to experience it, in a purely human condition. But in this instance, yes, I can still communicate with it, and I do on a daily basis, and I do discuss even mundane things with her, as mundane human things, as well as the information that's coming out for the current book, the Anne Dialogues, which is around 52,000 words in there. Marnie says, can I explain a little more about how karma relates to grieving? Yes. If we miss somebody, now clearly we will miss somebody, there's no question about that, but if we miss them to the point of distraction, where all we want is their physicality back, then that is a link to the low frequencies of the physical universe. And that's karma. Karma is being attracted to or addicted to low frequency thoughts, sensations, actions, behaviours, etc., etc. And so if we continue to want to have the physical individual here to the point where we can't think of anything else, and we put ourselves in a complete state of mind where we can't function properly here, and that's because we have lowered our frequency so much that we are only existing in the gross physical, nothing else, and that is a karmic state of being. That's karma, and that's difficult to get out of. And it means that next time we experience grief, we will be more profoundly affected by it, as it were. And Marnie says, so does crying when you think of a loved one mean the same thing? Now then, I actually feel and believe that when we do cry, when we do have a good cry, we're actually releasing some of that energy, because the crying, although it's us missing them physically, actually, if you look deeply into it, look really deeply into it, it's actually being in joy that they are no longer attached to the physical. So it's a difficult concept to get one's head around, that is. But in essence, when we are crying, we are actually, although we think we're grieving for them, the deeper meaning is we are in joy of them no longer being associated with low frequency existence. And so that removes the attachment to the gross physical. That's why the grieving process itself is useful and is important, because it removes our attachment from them, and therefore removes our attachment to the gross physical aspect they were, and it removes our attachment to the low frequencies of the physical universe as a result. Okay, well, thank you very much for those questions. Thank you to Joe for those two questions. Thank you to Ulla. Thank you for Marnie to give me questions on the way through, and the same for Adriana, and the same for Mo and Chris and Lily. Of course, we've mentioned Adriana as well. Good. They're all very good questions here. Thank you very much. So what I want to do now is, is we're going to do a meditation now that is specifically designed to heal the earth. Now, I haven't done this for a long time now. It must be nearly 2.5 years since I've done this particular meditation. So I think it's long overdue. I am going to ask this question about meditation to heal ourselves in a healed state as part of next Satsanga. We will do that. Okay, I'm just copying the message. We'll copy this lecture and put it in the email we're going to send out. But what I want you to do is just get yourself in your meditative position. So if you've got a straight backed chair, please sit in your straight backed chair. Okay. And your feet flat on the ground, and your palms uppermost on your upper thighs. And close your eyes and focus your closed eye vision on the area of the origin of the third eye, which is in between the two eyebrows and above the bridge of the nose. And I want you to visualize that you are, as normal, in this white corridor. Okay. This white corridor. Okay. And the white corridor has no doors, either to the left of us or to the right of us. But right at the very end of the corridor,
is a single door. And this single door is where we're going to go to. So just visualise or use your mentally spoken words if you have trouble visualising. That we are moving down towards this door at the end of this corridor. Okay. And when you get to the door, I want you to open the door. And walk through the door. And as you walk through the door, you see 3 chairs there, and I'm sitting in the middle chair. And so you can sit down on my right hand side or my left hand side. And I want you to take my left hand with your right hand, or your right hand with my left hand. And so as everybody comes in, from your own perspective, you see people start to create a circle around us. So all of us together start to make a circle, so that there's no loss of connectivity between us. Every one of us is holding somebody's left hand with our right hand, or right hand with their left hand. Okay. But from your own perspective, it's like you're sitting to my right hand side or my left hand side. Okay. And what I want you to do now is to just visualise that in the centre of us is like a, shall I say, a hologram of the earth. The earth is in front of us. Okay. Small, bluey whitey planet that we call the earth. Okay. This represents the earth. And it rotates in the middle of us so that we can see that it is doing its normal function of rotating once every 24 or so hours. This is okay though, this is a small version of the earth. What we need to do is go to the bigger version of the earth. So having visualised the earth as if from space, in this little hologram in the centre of us all, we're now going to visualise that actually this hologram is the earth, and we are in orbit above the earth. So our room that we're in this instance then, needs to achieve this orbit position. So it rises up like a lift above the building that it's in, above the street or the road that the building's in, above the suburb that the street or road's in, above the city that the suburb's in, above the country that the city's in, above the landmass of the continent that the city's in, or the country, and then goes further out until we are actually in orbit. So the image that we've got in front of us is no longer a hologram, it's actuality. What we see now is the planet Earth below us. And we're going to stop it. We're going to stop the rotation, we're going to move ourselves. All together we're going to move around this stopped planet. The planet has stopped rotating. And we're going to go directly above the North Pole.
Now the Earth has, in essence, 6 main chakras. 6 main major chakras, 6 main large chakras. And for ease of visualization, we're going to say that there's 1 chakra at the North Pole, there's 1 chakra at the South Pole. Then if we're looking down from the North Pole, or should I say looking down from space to the North Pole, then directly north of that, in the 12 o'clock position, would be another chakra. And then diametrically opposed to that, at 6 o'clock position, would be another chakra. And then at the 9 o'clock position would be another chakra. And then at the 3 o'clock position would be another chakra. So we have chakras in the North and South Pole. As we're looking down from space towards the North Pole, we've got the major hours on a clock, the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock positions. And each of those has got a chakra there. But right now the Earth doesn't appear to have these chakras extended. And so to help us heal the Earth, we need to extend these chakras to allow it to take on board and gather and accrue the energies associated with the rest of the universal environment, the multiversal environment that it is ultimately part of. And so we need to extend these chakras out to their maximum extension. And so we zoom down towards the surface of the North Pole to where the origin point of this chakra is. And we use our visualization to create the imagery that this chakra starts to extend itself from its point of origin from the floor of the North Pole up towards the sky. And so this area of energy, this nexus or junction ley lines, starts to grow into a sort of a typical cone-shaped image of this chakra, fairly similar to what we have in our human bodies. Okay. And so we grow this chakra up from the ground, up towards the sky, to an extension which is about a mile in height. So it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and taller, till it gets to about a mile in height. And at that point, this chakra is at its fully open condition. So having done that, the colour of the Earth changes a little bit. Previously this sort of darky, bluey, whitey colour, it starts to change to be a little bit less of this colour, a little bit more, shall we say, sparkly. Okay. So we move back into orbit again above the Earth, and we rotate ourselves around the Earth until we get to the South Pole, and we drop ourselves back down to the surface of the South Pole. At the surface of the South Pole, we again visualize this chakra, like a cone, similar to our human chakras, extending and growing up towards the sky, about a mile above the surface. It's huge. This huge cone-shaped chakra going up towards the sky. Okay. And so again, the energies associated with this particular chakra start to be pulled into the Earth. And so the Earth starts to change colour again. It starts to gain a bit more iridescence. It starts to become a dirty golden colour. It's a bit of sparkling, but dirty golden colour. So now we rise up back into orbit again and rotate ourselves back round to the North Pole so we can see the other sites of the origins of these chakras at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock positions. And so we rotate forwards towards the 12 o'clock position. So that's directly below us. And we go down to the surface again, and we use our visualization process to grow again, or extend this chakra from the surface up towards the sky again, this 1 mile in height. So this chakra, this part of the Earth, is also pulling in energy. It's supposed to pull in, and the Earth starts to increase its frequency in the way it's supposed to, associated with this subsequent frequency level. And so the Earth starts to pull in energies, and it starts to change again. And this golden colour becomes a more brighter golden colour. It starts to become pearlescent, rather than just a solid gold colour. And so having done this, we move back into orbit again. And again we rotate ourselves from the orbit position back towards the North Pole. And then we go down towards the 6 o'clock position, where the other chakra is, which is diametrically opposed from the 12 o'clock position. And so we rotate the Earth beneath us, so that we're directly over this 6 o'clock position, and we go back down to the surface. And we stand on the surface, and we all visualise this cone-shaped chakra, which is the same as our own human chakras, starting to grow and extend itself from its point of origin up towards the sky till it reaches its maximum height of 1 mile. This huge chakra pulling in lots of extra energies of different frequencies for the Earth. And again, as we do this, the Earth changes a different colour again. And it starts to glow even more. So rather than being just a 3D colour gold, it starts to become a pearlescent gold and a radiating gold. An almost iridescent gold. And so we rotate about the Earth again, back to this North Pole position, and then we go to the side, to the left, towards this 9 o'clock position. So we rotate around the Earth to this 9 o'clock position, and then take ourselves back down to the surface of the Earth again. And again on the surface, we use our visualization to grow the chakra that's supposed to be at this particular location. Growing up from this point of origin, this 9 o'clock position, growing up towards the sky, this cone-shaped chakra growing up towards the sky, to its maximum size of about 1 mile from the surface. And again, when it reaches that level, the Earth starts to take on board the energy, and it starts to move into being a really pulsating, irradiating, pearlescent, goldy colour, golden, silvery, whitey colour. Very energised now. And so having achieved this, we go back into orbit again and rotate about the Earth to get back to the position where we are, above the North Pole again, and that particular chakra. And then we rotate around to the other side, which is diametrically opposed to the 9 o'clock position. Excuse me. to the number 3 position. So when we're above that number 3 position, again we zoom ourselves down to the surface and we use our intention or visualization or mentally spoken words to grow that particular chakra from its point of origin up towards the sky, growing it to its 1 mile above the surface. This cone-shaped chakra again has different frequencies to pull in. So all of these different chakras, these 6 different chakras, diametrically placed around the earth, equally spaced around the earth, all deal with different frequencies, all having different functions. And so now, with this chakra extended, the earth, no longer constrained by its limited capacity to pull in energy, starts to function correctly. And so all the ley lines associated with these chakra pipes start to glow, like rivers of glowing, pulsating, irradiating, golden, whitey, silvery energy, flecks of gold and silver and white in the other colours that are there. So the white would have flecks of gold and silver the silver would have flecks of gold and white, and the gold would have flecks of silver and white. So the ley lines all glow, and the earth starts to glow. Starts to pulsate and irradiate, getting more and more iridescent, until with all the energies working correctly together in a joint state, with these chakras being correctly extended and pulling in the right energies, the earth simply glows in a magnificent way, consistent with the frequencies associated with what it's supposed to be working with. And so the whole frequency of the earth is lifted, healing and repairing any previous anomalies, allowing it and its inhabitants to exist in a higher state of frequency. And all the different thought processes and functions and actions and behaviours associated with these higher frequencies start to become a reality. And so with our job done, we can now move our room back out of orbit. So our planet, our image of the Earth now becomes a hologram again. But our room starts to go down towards the surface of where it was, so it moves out of orbit down towards the area of the landmass that the country exists within, that the room's in. Then it zooms in towards the country itself, getting closer to the Earth, and it zooms down to the city that the house is in within this country. And then it zooms down to this suburb that the house is within the city. And we go down closer to the Earth, and we're within the road that the house exists in within the suburb of the city. And then we see ourselves just hovering over the house or the building that our room's in. And then the room is suddenly within that building or house. And so we're all together now in this white room, back at the earth level, fresh in the knowledge that we've just increased the frequency of the earth by extending these 6 chakras that are placed North Pole and South Pole, and then the 12 and 3 and 6 and 9 o'clock positions around the periphery, around the equator line. And so now we can start to let go. So if you're holding my right hand with your left hand, you can let go. If you're holding my left hand with your right hand, you can let go. And so all the people who appear to be in this circle around us start to become detached from each other. And all that you're aware of is yourself sitting either to my right or to my left. And so you can now stand up from that chair, move towards the door that let you into this room in the first place, open the door, walk through the doorway and close the door behind you. And then walk up the corridor that has no other doors other than the door we've just come through, right to the very end. And when we get right to the very end, we can stop, just collect our energies a moment, and very slowly come back into the room. And if you have any liquid there or water, please take some water to help to ground you. And thank you very much for the work you've done for the earth. That was a fantastic piece of healing. I can already feel it. My side. I don't know about anybody else, but I can really feel the difference with the earth. Thank you very much for helping do this work. Okay, that finishes this particular satsanga. A slightly lengthy one, but that's okay. So, pleased that you're all here. So again, Happy New Year to you all. And the next satsanga is going to be on the 14th of February. So if that's a problem, please email me and I'll try and change the date. The only issue is that the previous date is a bit too early, and the date afterwards I've got a problem with that. So if the 14th is okay with people, bear in mind it's Valentine's Day. That'll be ideal. But I'll send you an email anyway, so if you have a problem, then just let me know. So thank you everybody. Thank you Marnie and Chris and Mo and Jeremy and John and Gwyneth and Joe and Lily and Adriana and Ulla and Bill. Thank you all for participating, and I wish you a very good day, good morning, good evening, and looking forward to seeing you again next month. Thank you everybody. It's been fantastic.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
It looks like I might get to see you a week from Friday.
Yes, you will do. I'm meeting John down in London with another friend of ours, so we're going to have a lunch, I think. Thank you everybody.
I'll look forward to it, guys.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you there. Okay, love to everybody, and see you later. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Namaste to you all. Namaste and pranams.
Bye.
Bye.
Did you see the aliens in Crete?